was pretty much afraid of everything, afraid of the world, afraid of speaking, really, really shy kid. Music was a way to speak, as simple as that. I could either just journal, write poetry, write just whatever was in my head, and sit down, strum a few chords, and put that together. And that's me. That's me telling the world about me when I can't do it on my own. So music was the voice I didn't have.
Welcome to the MetalliDads podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Sanford.
And I'm your other host, Blake Metallica.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for MFF Mondays number 2. We did want to clarify that we had originally said that we were only going to do these once a month, but we had such a good response with our first episode with Josh that we just, I think we're going to go ahead and do this a couple more times a month. Just kind of sprinkle them in because it's just too much fun to just talk about random stuff with just anybody. And tonight we've got our good friend Dustin. How's it going, dude?
Going well. How are you boys?
Doing good. Thanks for joining us. He is with the
Happy to see you.
Metclub chapter, the Six Horsemen from Toronto.
That's right.
Well, man, just we're just gonna kind of kick things off with you telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got into Metallica, and we'll just go from there, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I guess I got into the band. It wasn't anything overly special when I was younger, and I mean, like really, really younger, like first grade, second grade. I had an older cousin who was into the band, and he got into them from an older cousin that we both have, and so I got my first Master of Puppets CD when I was in like the second or the third grade, something like that, and I just listened the hell out of it. And I didn't really have like a whole lot of awareness of the band. Like I had like mixtapes and different stuff that I would hear. I saw the band when I was younger, and I didn't really appreciate it now. And I shoot myself in the foot every time I think about it because I didn't really appreciate the show for what it was. And the first couple of times that I had the opportunity to see them, it wasn't really until high school that it really took off. Some guys I grew up with, we used to have like a pretend jam band. So, like I wanted to be Lars Ulrich, my buddy wanted to be Kirk Hammett, my buddy wanted to be James Hetfield. And we were just like, okay, we're going to start a band and that's who we're going to be. And then in high school, we're like, why don't we actually start a band? So I picked up some drumsticks, the guys learned to play guitar, and we started off as like a Metallica cover band. And it kind of turned into kind of its own original thrash thing. And that's kind of where that got started for me.
That's awesome. Do you play with, have you messed around with Lars' signature sticks at all?
I have, actually. And a lot of people are probably going to hate me for this. I actually prefer Tommy Lee's signature sticks. They're made by the same company, but I find like for my particular hands, they feel a little bit better. But yes, I have used them. I do like them.
His is the head stick brand is Tommy Lee's. Are they considered the long taper, the LT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mess around with Lars's a lot, and I like them as well. I haven't tried any other brand or any other version of those, so I might have to try those. What are they, lighter or
little bit lighter? And they're like a gray metallic silver kind of color, so they kind of look cooler when you're playing them. No offense to Lars or nothing.
I like the white tips, so
yeah,
I just think they look cool. But yeah, so that's awesome. Could you remember? I know you had said you started off early. Can you remember exactly what the very first show was?
Yeah, it was Lollapalooza, 1996 at Molson Park in Barrie. It's billed like everything that happened in that city. I grew up in a small city just north of Toronto, so like everything that happened there was billed as Toronto. But so yeah, that was the first show they can do. Big note about that show, and again, kills me to this very day, was one of the final Ramones shows in history, and I was too young to appreciate it.
That's okay.
At least you got to see it.
We can join you in that because we saw Lemmy with our first show, and we were like, "What? Can we just move on from this?" And now we just kick ourselves in the face for being douchebag high school kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even remember any of that show, and that's what really hurts me the most. But it's
yeah, I feel that.
I remember hearing the guys next to us saying at that show, "Oh, Lemmy's coming out to play a song," and I looked at Tyler and I said, "Motherfucker, we're gonna lose a song because we have to listen to this mole-headed son of a bitch."
And here we are now. I would pay, I would donate my first child to see that. So
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you pretty much have to at this point. So, I mean, I'm glad to say that I was there, but I'd be lying if I said I was excited. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, well, it's good to know I'm not the only one with regrets like that in life.
I know that's right. So,
We have the same regrets for Lamb of God at that show.
I admit, like, I am a much bigger Lamb of God fan now than I was then. Absolutely.
Oh, we are too. It took that show getting us to like, oh, okay, well, they weren't terrible. Let's listen to them. And now we haven't seen them since, and I'd kill to see Lamb of God at this point.
Yep.
yeah. Have you heard their new single?
I haven't.
I have not, but
It's
I did hear.
It's called a Ghost.
I did hear that their tour with.
Sorry, y'all. It's called Ghost Shape People.
Right.
Dude, it's good. It's got a really good riff in it. So
Cool.
I did hear that their tour with Trivium and Megadeth has not been canceled yet, and they're shooting for late 2021. So
it hasn't been.
if it
canceled
actually
yet?
happens, I'll fucking be there. It has not been canceled yet.
Yeah.
Wow. Dude, Trivium and Lamb of God together would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll get out of there early, so we don't have to watch Megadeth.
I wasn't gonna say it, but you brought it up, so
I mean,
mind-
everybody
I don't
has
mind
to
that
learn
much.
eventually. I can't stand his voice or his attitude.
His attitude gets me, but yeah, it's
He's a hell of a guitar player, but I can't stand him at all aspects. So I would love to beat the traffic and get the hell out of there while they're hitting the stage.
oh.
and then we'll go into the car and listen to A Long Way to the Top, into Ecstasy of Gold, into like Blackened or something, so that we can have our own opener.
Just go listen to the early recordings with Dave and Metallica. It's like you always still listen to Dave play, but it's,
Oh yeah,
We'll just go listen to the Four Horsemen.
not the mechanics.
not the mechanics. I came across a video about that recently. It was an interview Dave did, and he was talking about the middle section of that and how it was basically a joke, the joke
Oh.
ripoff to Sweet Home Alabama, and I can't unhear it. Every time I hear that song, all I hear is Sweet Home Alabama now.
Oh man.
Now, did you see the video from the Alabama show in 2019? 2019?
I may have. I generally watched all of them. I don't particularly remember that one.
The Kirk and Rob Doodle in the middle was Sweet Home Alabama. James came out and sang a verse.
That would have been cool.
Dude, it was awesome. Of course, and
We were at that show. It was pretty fun.
I'm a huge Alabama fan, so of course I was like freaking out. So
I was a big fan of those jams. I really liked some of the ones that they did, and they really made it cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed a few of them. There were some I didn't know, so I really didn't care for, but definitely enjoyed that one and a few others.
I don't even remember which one they did in Atlanta when we saw them. Do you? Or even when you saw them in Florida
I don't.
that same year?
I don't remember.
Alabama was definitely the most
Shows up.
noteworthy one because I knew that song so well, and the fact that James joined in on the vocals, which he had not been doing, so that was
Yeah,
awesome.
that's pretty memorable.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That and We Got Dream No More, so I wasn't bitching about that show at all.
Heck yeah.
Fair enough. Fair
Mhm.
enough.
So I know you mentioned that you play you play drums. I remember. Did you get to play a song or two at the Metclub party at the night between S&M 2?
I did. I played Seek and Destroy with some very talented friends from all over the place. I think we were 4 different countries represented on that stage for our song. So
That's crazy. How did what's the story on getting something like that together? How did y'all did y'all contact the guy who was hosting, or how'd y'all practice?
So it was Russell, who's a member of the family, very good friend, was hosting that particular party. And so I don't know the details on how the band got involved, but the guys from Hardwired to Kill a Ball from Texas, Randy Alanis and the boys. I mean, they're friends, they're family. Randy's honestly one of probably the best people I know on this planet. But so they got involved, and we had done a jam like that before, actually, a couple of times. We did one Rock in Rio in Las Vegas. We did one the night before, so we'd kind of were not new to the idea of doing a fan jam and then having a band to play. So it was just a matter of who was going to organize it, and then it was Randy reached out. He knew that I played. He knew I had played in the past and was coming down, so he asked me if I wanted to participate, and the answer was a very quick "fuck yeah."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So did y'all get together a little bit ahead of time when you got down into California, or?
No chance. The 4 of us. I don't know. I can't speak for the other 3 people that I played with. I know I played with Christy from Chicago, and Brian Hammett from Mexico was on stage with me as well. I had never played with any of the other 3 ever. We stepped on stage, and what the fans saw is what the first time we had ever played together.
Wow, that's pretty intense, dude.
It's a little nerve-wracking. I mean, you're not only are you playing Metallica for Metallica fans, you're playing Metallica for your friends, and you're also playing with no rehearsal. So yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking, but you kind of get into it. You know everybody's going to support it no matter what happens anyway. So
that's very true. And like you said, it's the hardest of the hardcore Metallica fans who are going to know every nook and cranny of each and every song.
Exactly. I think
so. They're going to see every fuck up.
I mean, honestly, I think I criticized my performance that night harder than anybody else ever would. So that's just being part of being a musician, really.
Yes.
It's hard to imagine that particular Metclub party now because that building was so crowded. So crowded. That was one of the more crowded Metclub parties I'd ever been a part of. I think I was maybe in the building a total of 20 minutes that entire night. I was just stayed outside.
I think I spent a lot of time hanging it. So I spent some time working with Russell. I was kind of on his staff for that event, having experience in event management. I was around to give him a hand. I spent most of my night kind of in the back parking lot, vaping and just staying away from people because there were so many people.
Dude, yeah, it was very just kind of almost unbearable in some instances, especially in the bar area. Like you couldn't move in there. So
I can't tell you how many times I was in the bar area and I turned to walk out and would walk straight into Glenn's chest.
Well, you knew he was going to be at the bar.
Well, I mean, you can see him from a mile away, so
that too.
And funny that you bring him up. I had floor seats for night 2. Had no idea who was sitting with me, and I sit down and I look over beside me, and who do you think is the 2 seats to my immediate right?
They were the 2 seats that were in front of me and Tyler on that too.
Yeah, y'all were right in front of us.
That's right.
I forgot about
that. Yes. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah, that was funny. I just feel blessed to have been there at all. Forget being surrounded by the people that I know and love. So it's.
Yeah, we talked about that with Josh
because experience.
Yeah, it's a miracle that anybody got tickets to that show. So,
and the funny thing about that is,
let alone good tickets.
Yeah, when the tickets went on sale for night 1, I didn't find out until about an hour later, after I got my tickets, that people were having problems. I just thought, everybody that had the pre-sale, all the family, everybody's good to go, like every other show. I bought my tickets and then I continued, and then I went into the group chat and people were pissed. and I was in the lower 100 section, right, basically what would be center court, just off center court. And I pristine sightline. I thought, oh, I didn't think anything of it, and I didn't find out till later that people were not getting tickets to that show.
Yeah, I was the same way. Like, I bought tickets and jump on MFF and it was a fucking war zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was one of the ones that did not get a ticket, so me and everybody else were sharing in that frustration. Now, fortunately, I was able to buy mine from Jason when we got down there because he wanted to sell his and buy a seat closer, and I was like, "Hey, I'll take that." So, because I flew to California without a ticket to not one, I was able to get one. So
that's good.
Was fortunate enough to get
all
one
I can
for
say
not
is I've never been
$2.
happier for a Legacy pre-sale.
Oh my gosh.
But then to be not excluded from the sale for night 2 was even more special. So I know there was a lot of frustrated people. I hate to brag about it, but it's just one of those things. It was just weird. Maybe it was just meant to be. Like, I had no issues at all getting tickets to either of those shows.
I had zero issue whatsoever buying tickets. It was the easiest process. It was easier than buying tickets for the stadium shows in 17, that was a fucking nightmare for me.
Was that that purple walking dude, or is that S&M? No, I can't remember. I have nightmares with that purple walking guy.
S&M.
Yeah, the purple walking
the Ticketmaster guy, just walking.
The Ticketmaster guy, just walking.
Yeah, he's a jerk. Yeah. It's bad. Did you get to go to, you said you've been to both Orions, right?
I was at both Orions.
Did we get to see you at that point? Did we know you?
I knew, or I might have known Blake at that point. I can't remember. So I don't remember when I first met Blake, but once upon a time, I do remember when I was working for a theater company and we were doing a tour across the southern U.S. I do remember driving through Chattanooga and meeting up with this guy at I think it was a Krispy Kreme in Chattanooga, right off the interstate. I remember coming through and I was like, "Hey, you want to get together for coffee? It'd be good to see you." But I honestly don't really have a lot of recollection for my early days with Blake.
Gotcha. Well, I know we were there.
That was the first time we had met, so I don't think I knew you at that point.
Well, so we were at both Orions. We were at Lollapalooza in, what was it, 16?
15.
15? I can look at
15.
And then Heavy Montreal, too. We were there, too.
Yeah, I was at Heavy Montreal, but I did not partake in what apparently was an epic party. Being so close, I came in on the day of the show, and I left. Still breaks my heart to this day. Like, Heavy Montreal is one of my favorite festivals. So now when I get 2 day passes and go down to that show every year. But no, that year I just came down and then I left.
Yeah. Val hosted our most favorite Metclub party of all time. So
Val is a phenomenal person.
We love her to death. She's one of my favorite people that walks this planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and that was our first Metclub party ever. And so the fact that it was our first and nothing's been able to top that since then, it's kind of unfortunate. But, I mean, what are you going to do? That was pre-fifth member, so you had to buy a ticket to get in there or at least show your card. And so
you missed a good time in Detroit. We had a party the night before the first night of Orion in Detroit. And I think it was Randy that kind of helped put it together. It was at the Hard Rock. And it was all good, and we wanted to do our group photo. As anybody who's been around the family, after every show, we always get together to do a group photo. Problem is at the Hard Rock, there's nowhere to do it. So there's this big lobby. The Hard Rock's in the base of an office building. So there's a big lobby space. So we all go out there to take the picture, and security freaked out and called the cops. So we're trying to get everybody in to take this picture as quickly as we could before the cops were showing up, and then dispersed.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I guess it could be a little intimidating to see all these burlesque men and then all these women just together wearing black vests, tattoos, piercings.
in a building that's closed. So this is, I mean, of course, is like later at night in a building that's closed in Detroit. So yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, we remember Detroit at nighttime. That was not a fun place to be.
It's not a fun place to be during the day either. I love Detroit, but I mean, being so close to it, I go quite frequently, and it's one of those places you got to know where you're going.
We could discuss briefly about the nightmare that was the bus system.
Oh, briefly, we could sit and discuss that for months. I mean, that to me is
that could be a whole podcast series.
How not to run a bus program.
How not to get fans to your show. Yeah, but albeit it was better on day 2 than it was on day 1.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
But it was still a shit show both days.
Day 1 for us, we were standing in line for, I don't even know what time we got there. It was still real early. Waited in line for hours, got on the second, I don't know, it was one of the first couple of buses, but then we didn't arrive till 20 buses later because our driver didn't know. He must have been from Florida or something, never driven in a city in his life because he was just all over the place. And every time a bus would pass us, we'd just get more and more pissed off. It's like, what the heck, man? We waited hours for these people to just cut line, essentially. What a nightmare.
Yeah, it definitely made me miss Atlantic City. My hotel was right across the street. I got in the night before for Atlantic City, and I could hear the sound check happening on the stage across it because I kid you not, it was 200 feet to the gate from my hotel room.
That's awesome. We stayed pretty far away.
We stayed what felt like 2 hours away.
It was pretty far away, and both times we drove. So we were driving cars with Georgia license plates, and got pulled over the first night we were there, for no reason. He just kind of pulled us over just to kind of check and see what was going on. So.
Oh, I know how that goes. I used to live in Pennsylvania, just north of Philly, and I still have my Canadian plates on my car at that point. Jersey, they just love to pull people over. No disrespect to Jersey, some good people from there in the family, and there's some good people there all around. But yeah, they love to pull people over.
You can't even pump your own gas, so I mean, come on.
That's something I'll never understand.
I understand it, but that's a whole different story altogether. That's it.
Mm-hmm. So we had talked about on our first episode, we had shared some crazy show stories that we had experienced. You and your particular line of work, is there anything that you can tell us about? It doesn't have to be Metallica related, but crazy things that have happened during a show that you've seen or witnessed that you'd like to share?
Crazy things I've seen or witnessed. I've never really witnessed anything too insane. I mean, over the years, for people who don't know me, I work in audiovisual. I work in live music. Festivals in the summer is a big thing for me. I've seen people get assaulted. I've seen people, pass out from the heat, getting pushed up on the rail. I've seen that at shows I've been attended, but I've seen it being on the other side of the rail too. I've never really seen anything too crazy. Snoop Dogg bringing strippers on stage, it's probably about as crazy as it gets.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
I guess, okay, so I don't know, I won't call it crazy. Strangest thing I've ever seen. Voodoo Music and Arts Festival in New Orleans. Metallica covered for Green Day. I think it was 2011, 2012, something like that. And AC/DC comes on. All is good. We're all getting pumped up. Fades out. Nothing. About 10, 15 seconds of nothing. And maybe there was an issue, something, the band was delayed. But I shit you not, Symphony of Destruction started playing. Yep. So we went from AC/DC to to Megadeth into the Ecstasy of Gold.
Oh no.
What the fuck?
And I don't know anybody else. Randy be the only other person that was with me. That was actually the night I met Randy Alanis. He came down from Houston. It was a close show for him. But I'm gonna have to try and find like tape, like see if I scour YouTube and try and find these videos. But yeah, that's that. So it's not a crazy story, but that's definitely the strangest thing I've ever witnessed at a show.
But my jaw's
I
still
would
on
be
the
so
floor.
mad.
Yeah, my jaw's still on the floor. Like the thought of getting that pumped and then that song starting, I would be like, what is this nonsense? Would feel so betrayed.
So I know from yeah. So I know from being Facebook friends with you for as long as I have that you have a pretty eclectic music taste. Doing what you do, you see a lot of bands, a lot of artists. Uh, Other than Metallica, who I would assume is your favorite live performance, what other bands, people have you seen that just blew you the fuck away that you didn't expect?
First time I saw Justin Timberlake live, blew me away hands down. Probably, I mean, no offense to the boys in Metallica, but Justin Timberlake's probably one of the best live shows on the planet.
That's crazy. I've heard stories of
No
his.
shit.
Yeah, I've heard stories for sure that his show's insane. But when you're that, you can get away with more stuff if you're not like in a metal genre. Unfortunately, our culture has like shrunk in what you can do at a metal show and limited it to just such a small window of things that you can pull off and make it work and the fans be okay with it. But when you're in the pop, hip hop, basically any other genre other than ours, you can pretty much get away with a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. Country bands get away with quite a bit too. So it's I've seen quite a few country acts over the years. I got some that I really like. Eric Church, who I first saw at Orion and have since become a huge fan of. Right down to guys like Kane Brown, somebody a little bit newer. Just a phenomenal artist.
Well, Kane Brown's from our neck of the woods. He went to a local high school around here. Actually, he went to Ridgeland for a year, which was the high school we went to, and then transferred to one that was down the street. So, him and Lorna Lena. So, we really liked Eric Church at Orion, too, by the way. We became huge Eric Church fans after that. So,
absolutely. Yeah, big respect for that guy. Garth Brooks. I am one of the biggest Garth Brooks fans on the planet. I will travel to see him the way I travel to see Metallica.
I've heard he puts on a good live show.
And it's cheap. It's affordable.
So I will say this, and nobody's going to expect this out of me. I'm going to assume Tyler's going to agree with me. Other than Metallica, the best live show I've ever seen, Coldplay.
Unless it's at the Super Bowl where Metallica's supposed to be,
Yeah. But dude, Coldplay puts on one hell of a show. I really enjoyed that one.
yeah. Outside of the Metallica realm, Coldplay for sure was just... Of course, we were big fans of Coldplay for years and years before we actually got to see him, so the build-up for that was, like, forever.
Yeah.
So, we saw them at...
Also Muse. Muse put on a really good show.
I forget that we've actually seen them. We met them. We got to get that meet and greet in the back, got their picture made and whatnot. So they're short, dude.
Yeah, they're little.
Yeah, there's in all realms of music, there's very few bands that like I don't really appreciate. There's a few that I just can't get into. A few that I've had that I won't discuss, that I've had run-ins with over the years that treated me like shit and treated other people like shit, and I don't buy into that rock star attitude. So the bands have lost my respect because of it. But like for the most part, for me, if a song or an artist hits me and I feel it in my gut, I don't care who it is or what genre it is, and I'll listen to it.
Did you? What'd you think of Baby Metal at Heavy Montreal?
See, I thought it was okay, but I also knew what I was getting into when they were playing. So.
Yeah, we knew ahead of time as well. Fortunately, didn't get punked out like a whole bunch of other people. So
yeah, if I didn't know, then it might have been a different story. But again, you got to appreciate it for what it is. It's something different, and that's the cool thing about festivals is it's not always. If I wanted to go and hear the same 10 bands I listen to all day, every day. I just do that. But that's one thing I like about festivals. And one of the things I liked about the Orion festivals was just no matter where you went, it was something different.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, that was a different lineup. We didn't get to see them on day one, but I was super excited that Silver Sun Pickups played the Orion Festival. It's a band I never expected to be on that bill.
Modest Mouse was a band I never would have expected to play with Metallica, to be honest, but that's...
I forgot,
that too.
I forgot they were there. Wow. Yeah. Is it embarrassing that
I can't believe we didn't watch them.
Yeah. Well, is it embarrassing that we did not stay for Red Hot Chili Peppers on that one?
I did.
Yeah, we left after the Dehon set, so we may lose points for that one, but it's okay. We got to see Metallica that day, so...
I can't lie. I waited months and months. That was supposed to be the first time I ever saw the Dropkick Murphys. I at that point had never seen them and I was pumped. And then when I put 2 and 2 together at the same time DeHaan's playing, I thought, shit.
I would not have mind to see the Dropkick Murphys, but fortunately Blake had the insight to know better. So
I felt bad for those guys. I really did, but they had to have understood.
Yeah.
Well, surely they knew ahead of time. I mean, surely.
It had to be weird watching hundreds of people run away from their stage towards a different stage. Hundreds, if not thousands of people.
Oh, it had to be thousands, because when that started, there was maybe 500 people at that stage, and then probably when the curtain dropped.
By song 2.
Yeah.
By song 2, it was a sea of people.
and it, you know what? It ended up being one of the coolest little performances of all the times that I had seen the band. That was probably one of the coolest ones I had seen.
Yeah, very unique.
My only bitch about that show, the only thing I had to bitch about that show is he fucked up the lyrics to Whiplash, and that was the first time I ever got to see Whiplash, and he didn't say Metallica in the one song where they say Metallica.
See, I have beef with that song live anyway, because no matter what recording, if you go back and listen to it played over the years, I mean, we all know that song's got 4 verses. That song, when they play it live, they skip the 3rd verse, go right into the fill for the solo, play the solo, and then play the 4th verse. So, yeah, I got beef with that song all around anyway.
Yeah. Well, something else was going on that day for James during that particular show, because he was like pissed off about something. The way he kept looking at his audio tech during that show, I hope to God James never looks at me like that, because he was not happy, to say the least.
I do remember there was a lot of feedback issues and stuff in the early couple of songs in that show.
Pretty much, yeah. What about? I'm trying to think if there's anything else show-wise that we need to talk about.
Too many shows to remember at this point.
Yeah.
How many shows have you seen, Dustin? I know it's a high number.
It's 87. But
Jesus Christ.
To be fair, I always use the logic, because the big thing that came up in the summertime with the Pandemica show, and then with the All Within My Hands stream, was, what are we calling a show? What counts as a show credit towards your number? I always say, you can give credit to our good buddy Phil. If it ends up on iPalm, I count it as a show. So that's how I track, my shows and stuff like that. So my number's at 87, but to be fair, one of those was technically when they played Enter Sandman for Mariano Rivera's last game at Yankee Stadium. I was there. It's on iPalm listed as I saw the band play Enter Sandman. So, 86 shows, but I've seen them perform 87 times. It depends on which way you want to look at it.
There you go.
I like that. I don't think I've ever thought about it
It's
that
still
way.
about 60-something more than I've seen.
I've just been fortunate from where I grew up. If you look at a map in Toronto, I grew up right near Toronto, which, we get most major tours all the time anyway. I'm only 3.5, maybe 4 hours to Detroit. I'm an hour and a half from Buffalo. I'm 4 hours the other way to Montreal. I can go and see Metallica 10 times on a tour and not go more than 10, 12 hours away from home.
Yeah, that's one of the drawbacks of living in the South. We get maybe 2 shows, and the rest of them you're traveling 8+ hours.
Yeah, it's so I've just been fortunate, and then a lot of them came down to just blind luck, like being in New Orleans when they played Voodoo. I happened to be working in Australia when they were doing the Soundwave festivals, stuff like that. So a lot of it's just by complete chance.
Did we ever? I know we had gotten a chance to talk a little bit before the S&M show. It might have been. I'm not sure if it was night 1 or night 2, but did we ever confirm or not whether we saw Steph Curry? Do y'all remember that? We were on the steps behind.
We were on the steps.
I do.
Yes.
Did we ever confirm if that was him or not? Because it looked like him, and at some point somebody asked for a selfie. So
it very well could have been. I do remember that. That was before night 1, just before doors. And I rolled. I don't know if everybody remembers this. I was rolling around San Francisco on those rental scooters like mad that whole week we were there. And I rolled up to the show in my scooter, and like I had like 500 people turn around like who the hell is this guy? I do remember that. I don't know if we confirmed it with Steph Curry, but I think it was.
We're going to say yes.
That was the most famous person.
Yes. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, that was the most famous person I saw in San Francisco. So, other than James Hetfield, but I'm not going to talk about that.
I had Cliff Bernstein about 10 or 12 seats to my right night 1 for S&M. So he was sitting. It was him and Ray Burton and a couple other guys.
What?
And I was like, but they're walking down, and the problem with night 1, if you remember, it was a lot of Metallica fans, but it was a lot of the San Francisco ticket holders, the season ticket holders.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, a guy like Ray Burton, somebody like Cliff Bernstein can walk into the arena. Nobody knows who the hell this guy is.
Dude, if I would have been sitting down and I looked over and saw Cliff Bernstein.
It's funny you mentioned him.
I'd have been freaking out.
It's funny y'all mentioned him. So at the Atlanta show in 2017, I did the hardware package. And after we go and meet the band and all that stuff, or it was right before we went and met the band, they had us in the tent in the middle of the field or in the middle of the floor, like where they do all their lighting and all that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 12 of us, and then the Wrangler who had us for the meet and greet. And I look over, and there's Cliff Bernstein just hanging out, waiting for the band to come on. I talked to him for a few minutes. He was a super nice guy. I kind of expected him to be a dick just from the way he comes off, but he was super nice.
Yeah, I don't think he manages the biggest band of all time, but I mean, I don't think at the same time he's got that rock star attitude. I think part of his job is to be cool and to be calm. So I never actually met him, but I've been around him a number of times, and yeah, I always thought he just seemed like just such a laid back kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I got there, I was supposed to be higher up, and I was just sitting in my seat by myself, just kind of waiting for the show to start, and somebody came in with their friend or whatever. They were like, "Hey, I've got this ticket that's down further. It's closer." Now, it was still like in the upper 200s, but they were like, "It's closer. Would you care to trade with me? Because I want them to be able to sit with me." And I was like, "Heck yeah, I'll move closer." So, of course, and then I'm like, "Is this ticket
Run that
legit?"
shit.
Yeah. Well, and at first I'm like, "Is this ticket legit?" But then, am I about to give up my seat? But shoot, I would have went and stood at the bar. I wouldn't have cared, just to be in the building for that.
Yeah, just to be there was magical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got some random video that I took from my what's it called? My little camera that I bought. GoPro. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
From my little GoPro that we took. Just some video of like inside the stadium and on the floor at night too. Being able to walk around. Like that was probably one of the more shocking things to me was that was just open access to just walk around the floor and see all the instruments up close. I've never been that close to Lars's drum set in my life.
I have. I've actually been. I was on stage in Philadelphia during the Arena Worldwide tour, and yeah, there's anybody who knows me. That's actually, I think it's my Facebook profile picture right now, and me doing the selfie thing with Lars's drum kit. And I mean, as a drummer, I know that feeling that you felt being that close, and
Yeah. Yeah, it was something else for sure.
that was a nerve-wracking moment in Philly. I tell you,
I'm not even a drummer, and I want to touch it.
Yeah, for sure. So, we've talked about all kinds of stuff about shows and other kind of experiences, but I think we're ready to ask you our 3 questions. So if this is the first episode you're listening to, we are going to ask every family member the same 3 questions so that we can kind of get a good general census of where everybody's at. So the first question is, what is your dream set list?
Oh, it's the impossible question, but I think I put it together. Much like you guys, like I just put fixer, and then maybe I disappear or something. But it's one of those things. Like I wanted to have the dream set list, and I wanted to be as realistic as I could, following kind of their template, and I kind of mixed it up with the template from the recent tours versus over the years. So I think I got it down. So first song, definitely kicking it off with what I believe is the greatest arena opener, Blackened. That song just hits.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that's going to end up probably being a pretty staple for an opener for Dream Set List, just because it works, no matter how many times you see it, because you can start with the tape and just kind of kick into it. So,
yeah, absolutely. And going back to like the 2004 arena tour, my number 2 song, Fuel, Blackened into Fuel, is just it's a great transition. You kind of let that note hang at the end of Blackened, and then just James do his thing. And so I just thought that was a great transition to go into my second song.
Yep, you're my new favorite person for sure.
My next song, Ride the Lightning. Seemed like a nice spot. You got kind of a mid tour and kind of a mid generation song. Go back.
Did you peep my set list? Did you listen to episode 3 already? Because I'm pretty sure that was mine. So far, you've got it pretty close.
And then, funny enough, my next song off the same album, going for Bells right after Lightning. I just thought, just while you're kind of in that same era, same kind of sound, seemed like a nice spot to go. Then I want to kind of slow it down a little bit. The Unforgiven 2.
Yes. Maybe one day James will grace us with that wonderful song.
Right. And then going on from there, I wanted to kind of go into an instrumental a little bit. And I was really struggling as to what I wanted to choose. And honestly, Orion, best instrumental I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
I love Cthulhu to death, but I just think Orion there's just something magical about it.
Yep. Agreed.
I mean, there's a reason I didn't name my kid Cthulhu, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck your teachers reading that one off in class.
Cthulhu?
All right. All right. So we're Orion. All right, coming out of Orion, probably everybody's staple will be on, no matter who you ask this question to, is always going to be on the set list, Master of Puppets.
Yep.
But if you remember from the 2018 arena tour, with that extended outro to Master Puppets, kind of gave it something new and something fresh. If you don't know exactly like what I'm referring to, if you go back and listen to any of the masters from like the September, October, November, like 2018 arena tour in North America, you'll hear it. They had this like, kind of extended outro thing to it, and it really changed up the end of the way the song ended. All right.
When you play a song that long, you have to change it up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming out of Master, Lars will probably hate me for this, but Damage Incorporated, right out of Master of Puppets.
Oh,
Lars would hate me.
Yeah.
oh yes, he would, but I would love you.
All right, coming out of Damage Incorporated, we're gonna roll the tape and we're gonna play some One. Slow it down again a little bit.
Okay.
You know, it's one of those. It's got to be on the set list. It's just one of those staples that it's just you got to hear it.
Yep.
Especially on tours where they're doing a lot of pyro. You know, it works. After One, you guys will love me for this one. I want to hear Saint Anger again.
Oh. Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
And I loved the variation or the way they were doing the intro to that recently in 2019. I thought that was very good.
Oh, that was super cool. Next up, Until It Sleeps would be
Yes.
just I struggled with that a little bit. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to put where, and Until It Sleeps just kind of seemed like it would fit right in there nice after your Master Puppets into Damage Inc. into One into Saint Anger. Like you gotta come down from that a little bit.
I feel you. Yeah.
You got to give Lars a break.
Especially because after that we're going into Through the Never. So that song is an absolute banger live, and I could listen to it every show for the rest of time, hands down.
Absolutely.
Then absolutely. So after Through the Never, I Disappear.
Yep.
It's a
Blake, you got to get before you move on. I'm sorry, Blake. You need to tell the small story of when we saw that. What was it at Lollapalooza or was it night 2 of Orion? I don't remember. But whenever they did that song,
Lala.
Okay, so Lala. At some point, the camera panned and got Blake. At some point during the song.
I have this strange.
I had a little dance move with it.
That I want to see. No, we definitely heard that night to Detroit Orion as well. So it's just one of those songs they pull out every now and again. Every time I hear it, I'm smiling ear to ear. All right, after I Disappear, the one I want to hear, and I'm sure you want to hear, Murder One.
Okay. Yes.
Absolutely.
I just have a serious thing with that song. It's just like my go-to song on that album. After that, kind of closing up the main set, Ain't My Bitch.
Yes.
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 I'm a Load era guy. I don't know if you noticed that with this set list, but I am definitely a Load era guy.
Well, I think that's why we get along so well.
All right, and then to close out the main set, Whiplash, but played properly. 4 verses, played correctly.
All 4 verses.
All 4 verses played correct. I have that problem with Blackened too. They don't play the second half of the guitar solo live, which has bothered me for the better part of 20 years at least.
How dare they?
So, coming into the 3-song encore set, I thought it'd be fun to start it with the Frayed Ends of Sanity. Kind of come right out, after a couple minutes of everybody cheering, kind of get everybody, cheering along and singing along. I thought it'd be a little bit of fun.
And they tease that song all the time anyway. So
Everybody
the fact that they would
their
just,
pants.
the fact if they just kept going with it, it would just be even more of a surprise. Because everybody everybody would just think, oh, it's just the teaser version. Nope.
Exactly,
and that's play the whole
and that's
thing.
right at the point of the song where they do that. So, after the Frayed Ends of Sanity, Bleeding Me. You build it up, bring it down again.
Oh,
in the encore too, man.
In the encore too. Oh, I love that song. That was one I really, I can listen to all day, every day. And then finally, the final song. It's a great taped intro. It's a nice, great song. I think it would make a banger of a finisher. My Apocalypse.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel that.
I can fuck with that.
Mm-hmm. I ended my set list with Spit Out the Bone because I have not heard
It's
that
not
song
what I've
yet.
heard as a suggestion, but
See, I won't say too much, Tyler, to break your heart, but I was excited to hear "Spit Out the Bone" and incredibly let down by it. And it wasn't the song; it was because of the way the song was recorded. There's just so many layers of guitars in that song that they can't duplicate live. That I personally didn't like it. But not to say it's not a great song. It's not a great song live. I just personally didn't like the way it sounded live. I didn't think I didn't think it transferred from album to live very well.
I don't think I've paid attention to that, so I'm glad you've kind of set me up for that because I would be super disappointed if it didn't sound exactly the way I wanted it to. So
I've heard that before, that it didn't live up to live expectations. Yeah.
Well, we said that too about we did our album review of Load on episode 3, and we talked about that's how it would be for a lot of those songs on Load, and that's why they haven't played them, like Cure or Poor Twisted Me and all those songs. Just kind of, I don't know, or Thorn Within. Just probably wouldn't translate well. So
yeah, no, even something like Ronnie, I don't even think would translate well, even though it's such a basic song.
I don't give a fuck how well it translates. I need them to play it just once.
I wanted to put on my set list. I wanted to put Escape only for the reason that if it was only ever played twice, I would have been there to see it played both times.
that's true. Yeah.
My brother is
that would have been my logic too.
My brother is a huge fan. He wasn't in Atlantic City, and he's still pissed that I brag about seeing Escape live because to this day that bothers him.
Yeah, I would hold that against everybody too. I do. So okay.
I mean, is there any better feeling than telling somebody who likes Metallica that you saw a song that they didn't?
Fair enough.
That's how everybody is with us and Saint Anger songs. So
yeah, I saw Escape.
And they're like, oh yeah, well I've seen Saint Anger, Frantic, Dirty Window. Don't remind me.
I saw all of them.
That's what I tell them. Go fuck themselves. It was acoustic, but I don't care.
I saw Lars do the drum part to Anesthesia. Okay, so what now?
I've seen him fuck that up. If you go back and watch that recording, he came in way too early.
Oh, really? I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah, go back and watch that from Orion when the DeHaan set that Rob wasn't quite there in the song yet, and Lars tried to count it in.
Awkward.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about S&M too. I was like, I didn't notice that.
I love Lars, but he's not perfect.
Oh no, yeah, I forgot. I didn't mean to say I forgot about Anesthesia at S&M too. I just didn't, because it wasn't the band playing it. I didn't really associate it with them. But yeah, that was one of the cooler things.
That's funny. Oh, Lars.
Oh, Lars.
All right, so that was question number 1. So question number 2 is, if you had to erase one album from Metallica's history, what would it be? And it cannot be Lulu or Garage Days. So.
All right. I warned Blake about this, that somebody was going to hate me for this answer, and I like to stir the pot. Anybody who knows me. If I had to get rid of one album, Death Magnetic, it's gone.
Ooh.
Yeah, shots fired. I know.
That hurts a
and
little bit.
A lot of it's personal. For me, I love the album. I love the songs. I love everything about the album. But it doesn't. Those songs don't mean to me what the songs from the other albums do. And I think a lot of it has to do with the early 2010s, like from the Magnetic tour and onward, is when I really started to see the band a lot on the same tour. And I think I overheard a lot of the songs that they were playing from that album. So I think for me, it personally kind of turned me off that album a little bit. And that's the issue with seeing a band so many times on the same touring cycle. But for me, the biggest thing was just I don't connect to the songs on Death Magnetic the way I do, the songs on Load Reload, like especially like Saint Anger, knowing what they went through to record that album. It's serious struggles, and the fact that we almost didn't have a band after that album. We almost didn't have the album at all. So it's a purely personal thing for me, but I definitely know that a lot of people are going to heavily disagree with that decision.
Yes.
Oh, I disagree completely, but I still love you.
Yeah. Well, considering that was our first album release, because, we weren't fans of the band at the time when Saint Anger came out. We were too young. So Death Magnetic was our first, album to be excited about. So,
yeah. See, that's the way I felt about Saint Anger. I was in 2009, the 9th grade, I think, when Saint Anger came out. And I remember me and my buddies, same guys I used to play with, we cut class and we were sitting outside the local record store 8 a.m, waiting for them to open up at 8:30 so we could buy our copies. So the way that you feel about Death Magnetic is the attachment that I have to Saint Anger.
It's funny that you mentioned Stirring the Pot, because I've talked about in the past, this is not really how I feel, but it's funny to talk about. If you really want to make somebody mad, just mention the fact that you don't think Metallica didn't even start to get good until after the Black Album.
Man, that shit'll get you killed, man.
Dude, could you imagine?
But and that just tells you the kind of person, if you're talking to somebody and they say, oh, they were only good before Injustice, or they're only good up until Justice, or they were no good, or it shows you their connection to music. Whereas guys like me and you guys, we're so well connected to music as a whole that doesn't matter. I mean, Metallica could come out with a K-pop album. I'm sure we'd love it for what it was. We might be slightly disappointed, but we can appreciate the music for the music. So everybody kind of deals with and experiences music in a different way. Mm-hmm. So,
well, and I've said as well too that even if they don't like the newer recorded stuff, if they like James's vocals live as of today, they really shouldn't have an issue with today's recordings, because that is James' voice. The way he sounds live is his recorded sound now. So, I don't know.
You want an unpopular opinion? I think Hetfield sounds better now than he ever has, and I mean ever.
Amen.
We can all agree on that. I like a normal vocal. I don't want him to hurt himself. There's no need to force it if he doesn't have to. And it still sounds great. There's a lot of grunge in that voice, even after the Black Album.
Hands down.
Yes. So, everyone that has stopped listening, we'll see you later. You can join us next month. When we're talking to somebody else. Yeah, so that was question number 2. So you've decided to remove The Day That Never Comes from my life, which is very disappointing. But
The Unforgiven 3.
Yes, The Unforgiven 3.
The Unforgiven 3.
You can
Apocalypse, which is...
Yeah, well, you can take away All Nightmare Long. That's fine. You can keep that one. You can take that away from me. But anyway, so question number 3. And this can be interpreted however you'd like. It can be band-centric, family, Metallica family, or trip-specific, whatever you want it to be. Question number 3 is, what's been your favorite experience associated with seeing Metallica?
So it's not like a one-off thing. It was it's like a 2-week period. It was one experience. So in 2018, October, I took a couple of weeks off work. I didn't have the luck of having a black ticket. So I just bought tickets to the 6 shows closest to me all in a row. Left home, spent, I think it was 12 or 13 days going to 6 shows. And just that kind of 2-week period of all the moments I've ever been to, including San Francisco for S&M too. That 2-week period is like the most special kind of thing, because I had who did I have? I had John Bidwell and Rob Bradley in my car for 2 weeks. Rob jumped off to fly home kind of after Charlotte, but I had the same guys, so I traded them. So when, they had the hotels booked, I drove the car and put the gas in the car. So I slept on the floor for a good couple of weeks. And just every night being surrounded by the same people and stopping off to do different things. So, my first night on that tour was Pittsburgh. Showed up, did the kind of a little walk around, did the show. Next night, went and hung out with Jim Brewer just outside of Pittsburgh for one of his shows because he was doing comedy nights on the off nights. So we were supporting him. Next night was State College, Penn State University. So same. So it's just always being around the same people. Then we all make the however long it was, the 8-hour drive down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we had a party down there with that chapter and those lovely people, and so it's just night after night. It was just the same people around me for 2 weeks. It was just like a magical experience.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people that will hear this and think the same thing, that most of the time, or most likely when we ask that question during these, it's going to be travel-centric or just family-centric in general, because, you can experience something insane at a particular show, and it can stick with you forever, but it's the moments with the community in general that's very unique. And as many bands as I've seen, the community is nowhere near the volume or compassionate about their band as it is Metallica. So,
hands down.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, especially, and I don't know if I think it really came to fruition for me to see it when Lars was talking about or picking out all the flags on night 2, and just kind of like that particular show felt good because you had to be technically a 5th member to buy a ticket, but it's free. But it just felt different than the other show because I feel like the band treated it differently because of who was in the room. It's like they knew. Obviously they knew, but I could tell they treated it differently than night 1. It was just felt more. I don't know. There was more of a connection, especially during the Memory Remains that lasted like 2.5 minutes after the song was over.
I remember like almost being in tears when that happened. But a lot of what you're saying, the band being into it, has to do with the type of people that are there. And that night 2 was mainly fans. You had to be a member of the club to get tickets. So it was just the energy. Night 2 just was so much better. But that's summed up. I don't know if you made it out to the that park outside the arena when we were all chanting Metallica, and that's in the European soccer chant. That summed it up. Just
Yeah, they showcased that at the end of the movie, right?
They actually used my footage at the end of the movie. So if you watch the credits, I'm actually credited above Q Prime and Cliff Bernstein in the credits for S&M 2.
That's crazy. I think I remember the story of that video being from you, but I don't think I realized that your credit was above theirs. So that's funny.
Yeah. So about a week after the shows, I was on. I don't know. We still call it PPM? I'm posting me the forums on the old Metclub, and I remember the guys from the club were asking for footage, and I had it, so I sent it in to them, and I go, yeah, okay, cool. That was I never heard anything more. And I remember being at my movie theater the first night S&M 2 was playing, and my buddy was across town, and his movie theater must have been about 5 minutes ahead because my phone blew up. I had no idea. And my phone just blew up left and right in group chats and this and that. And it just said, dude, your name is in the credits, man. Your name is in the credits. And I was like, bullshit. And then I watched it.
That's unbelievable. That's kind of cool.
Still waiting on my check, though.
Yeah. That moment was kind of crazy, though, too, to see everybody chanting that. It was. I'm sure San Francisco was like, can we get these people out of here, please?
And like by that I don't know, if you ever get a chance to go down to like Brazil or even like Mexico, like that vibe that we had that night outside is what the vibes inside those shows down there are like. It's just, I've never seen passion from fans like I have in like Mexico City or in Rio. Like that's just passion to a whole new level.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Especially, and you can see it in videos too. We would like to at some point be able to travel outside the country again. Other than, of course, we went to Canada, but we'd like to see a show in Europe at least once to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Let me know. I'll come with.
Okay.
Yeah, since my microphone's the devil, I just wanted to add in that I kick myself in the ass every day of my life for not buying a black ticket. Granted, I saved myself thousands of dollars of debt, and I had a new baby on the way, so I can't be too mad, but I kick myself in the ass for it either way.
I tried, and I couldn't get one, so.
See, I had one in my cart. The morning tickets went on sale, and I thought about it. But I had the realization that I can either have a wife and a new son, or I can have a black ticket.
Fair.
So I went with the wife and child.
I completely respect that. See, I opted to go on the tour, and we also know how that story ends.
I will say this: we've already discussed it, and if another one ever happens, I'm buying one.
Absolutely.
I could see them doing it again. It was really kind of a cool thing. Plus it's not a lot of what am I word I'm looking for? It's not a lot of like effort on their part to do so. They're already, the black ticket was put together by the same company that was putting together the enhanced experiences. So they've already got staff from these companies doing VIP experiences already. So, I mean, it's only just one little extra thing to put on.
Well, and two, like, it sold out, so it's not like they couldn't sell them, or that they went unsold. So
definitely get your money's worth. What was it? 6 shows? You can get 32 shows for the price of 6 if you went to them all. Which I think we know a few people who did.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I could not imagine doing all 32. I could not imagine. That would be insane.
And the thing that would have been hard.
I could imagine it. My wallet couldn't imagine
it. Especially now, because they don't tour straight through anymore. Like if back in the day they do 32 shows, it'd be a month and a half. Now they're doing 6 shows over 2 weeks, and then they're going home for 2 weeks, and then they're coming back out here and doing 6 shows, and then and they're 1 to 3 nights off between shows. So I mean, if you're going to do 32 shows, you're looking at a 6-month commitment easily.
Yep, you'd come back home, work for 2 weeks, then go back out.
I want to know who you're working for if they let you do that, and are they hiring?
Right.
He's not hiring, but my boss would totally let me do that, I feel like. But that's the perks of working at a tattoo shop.
He would, yeah. You'd have to take your cards with you.
Yeah.
Call it a business trip.
Yeah.
I'm here on behalf of...
Ooh, I could write that off on taxes.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. It's that time of year, too.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to just about do it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, Dustin. We'll have to shout you out in the comments or in the description, your Metclub chapter and all that. And Blake, did you have any other closing statements you'd like to make?
I hope the next time I see you, Dustin, is on the rail and not over a computer screen.
Absolutely.
I would agree.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. It was great to see you guys and hang out with some friends for an hour. I missed you guys both. I missed all of the family tremendously, and we'll see everybody soon.
That's when my favorite part about doing these is just being able to talk as if, because we'd have these conversations, if we were at a show, just not in front of a microphone. So it's just being able to reminisce and kind of pass the time away until those are allowed again and safe again. So, but
Absolutely.
until then, we will have this. And but again, yeah, thanks, man, for coming on, and thanks everybody so much for listening to MFF Mondays. Be sure to check out us on Facebook, And we're on Spotify, the iTunes Store. Be sure to leave us a review and all that stuff. And we will see you next week on another edition of the MetalliDads podcast.
See ya.